What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It is the King and I Life podcast, hosted by myself, Soul Toucher the Poet, and my brother, Son Soul X, in his joint. Check it out. Hit us up, www.kingandilife.com, for all our podcast info. Subscribe to whatever podcast platform that you choose. Also, hit us up, KINGANDEYE369@gmail.com. Email us your suggestions, your feedback, and all that good stuff. Tune in to us live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And make sure you like, subscribe, and share, because we are all over all those social media platforms. Stay tuned for the good stuff. Yeah, we out. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the King and I Life podcast with me, Soul Toucher the Poet, and my brother,
Son Soul X.
we're coming to wrap this up. We're talking about pharmaceuticals and, our society. So much to cover on this, but we're gonna discuss a couple of more things before we, close out this segment. Where you want to take it this time?
Hypocrisy of use and stigma of use.
That kind of folds into pretty much what we've been saying. I don't even I don't even know, man. When it comes to hypocrisy, I guess the biggest thing with that is looking at the aspect of how people just pretty much do not do it in a responsible manner. When I think about the hypocrisy of use, again, I have to go back to the self-medicating thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll have people who use prescriptions or whatever the case may be, leisurely instead of how you're supposed to, and they see somebody else doing it, they got something to say. And I think it's like, if you're not going to use it properly, how dare you say something to the next person that isn't? Or how dare you say something to the next person that is using it properly? I mean, you just out of line on that. When it comes to stigma, there's a lot of stigma behind certain prescriptions. You have to look at, when you talk about the stigmas, you probably talk about the demographics of who's using, or the stigma of using, period. Some people in some using certain prescriptions, and when it comes to certain lines of work or whatever the case may be, you get that stigma, because it's like, for instance, if you're an athlete or heavy equipment operator or something like that, there's a stigma behind that, again, with the weed and stuff like that, now it's put in a prescription category in a lot of places, but, just because it's a prescription on the state level, it doesn't mean it's a prescription on the federal level. And, there's stigmas behind it. So, I mean, that just has to be, again, and that boils down to individual choices at the end of the day, because nobody is forcing these things upon you. You take it at your own risk.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the hypocrisy of it, I think it's one of those, damned if you do, damned if you don't. You get what I'm saying? Because on one hand, you're judging it and you're saying, that these drugs are bad, and some of the content of these drugs are bad.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you look at some people who just can't function without them,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, all right, go ahead. I know we said no, but go ahead. One of those type of situations.
Right.
Because how can you, like you said earlier, how can you tell someone who's in pain how much pain they're in?
Yeah.
And how
definitely.
much of a certain prescription that they're taking is damaging their body more than healing their body.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not a trained professional at all when it comes to pharmaceutical drugs. But one thing I know for sure is I can never step in someone's head, into their psyche, and tell them you're not experiencing as much pain as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's kind of what it comes down to is, again, people will choose to make the decision that they feel is best for them in their situation.
Right.
Pain is a motherfucker, man.
Yeah.
I mean, this scar right here,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not even gonna tell you the story of how my arm got broke, but that shit hurt. I remember when we were going to the hospital and they had wrapped my arm up and propped it up, and we were going across this bridge, and oh my God, it was the most painful fucking thing ever, because every time he hit one of those boop 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 boop, I felt that shit. And I'm back here in goddamn tears, man. That shit hurt so goddamn bad. So I identify with those people who, their bodies are hurting like that.
Right.
But the stigma of abuse is, we can sit up here and say there are natural forms of medicine for whatever your ailment is all day. But people are going to go to where the easy access is. Meaning the shortest distance between two spots or two areas is a straight line. So point A to point B, straight line. That's what they're going to take.
Yeah, pretty much.
So some could criticize people for the amount that they take, but again, who are we to tell them what they're experiencing? Whether they lower the amount that they take because they up the dosage, or they have some of those situations where the doctor will slowly start backing down on their prescription, meaning lowering the dosage. So the patient may bump up the amount trying to get to the previous dosage that they were prescribed.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's just crazy. So you can talk about costs, generic versus prescription, over the counter versus prescription. What's in the name? Again, that's one of those damn things to where you just you have to be wary of what you're taking. I was trying to look up prices of some of these things at like CVS or whatever the case may be. What am I having? Okay, here's a good one. So when you talk about over the counter and prescription, so things like Tylenol, Sudafed, and store brand, and this, that, and the other. It's interesting how these things are priced. Because I'm looking at Tylenol, for instance, daytime, nighttime, and multi-action gel caps. $12.99 for, whatever. Then you look at how much the store brand costs, and it's probably like $2-3 cheaper. The one thing that you look at when you look at prescription generic over the counter versus prescription over the counter versus over the counter, again, it makes you wonder why these are so expensive. Fortunately, my prescriptions are not that expensive. Like, I literally probably pay $2, $3, $4, $5 for a prescription of anything that I get because of my medical insurance. But that's how much I pay with the insurance. If I didn't have the insurance, I'd probably be paying $12, $13, $50, $60 for, whatever. But then you look out in the shelves and the over the counter stuff that is the same, maybe a different name, maybe a different dosage or whatever the case may be. And you look at the prices of those, and, it's just crazy that it costs so much and is so readily available. And then again, you say, what's in the name? Ibuprofen is ibuprofen is ibuprofen. Motrin may be the brand name, Motrin may be the prescription name, but it's all ibuprofen. Different companies, same looking pill, same orange, beige color coating or whatever the case may be. I mean, come on, like, it's just too much.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. When it comes down to generic brands, I learned something very quickly in my early 20s. Back then it was the rage to have a system in your car. So back then I had spent close to about 3 G's on my system.
I'm my car. Fight the hell out of you.
You
and fought right now.
It worked well. Like, you could hear me a few blocks away.
Yeah, you need to be fought right now.
Love that system. But
you need to be fighted. Not fought, fighted.
I had a problem with my system. My system, it kept killing my damn battery. So I took it to this one guy, and he was like, man, your alternator is just not strong enough. And he gave me the option. He was like, now here's what we could do. He was like, I got this brand name alternator, and he told me the name of it. He said, this thing will run you about roughly like $280, somewhere around there. For me, that was more than I wanted to spend. But he said, what I could do is just take your regular alternator, and I know some tricks and things I could do to bump it up.
Right.
So me at this time, I'm so crazy about my system and, the glitz and the glamour, of a young man and doing his thing. I'm like, well, I don't want, to be stuck out in the middle of nowhere. My shit don't work. So I was like, let me go with the brand name. So sure enough, he was like, all right, you can go with it, but I'm trying to tell you, you're probably better off the other way. But, again, me thinking about glitz and glamour, I went with the brand name. So I had that alternator probably about a good 5 months. And the same goddamn thing happened to me again. Got off work, went to go crank up my damn car. Motherfucker won't crank. Battery dead. And I'm like, this is a brand new goddamn battery. So then I thought back to what my alternate guy was telling me. So make a long story short, I end up taking the car back to him, or the alternator back to him, my original one, because I kept it. And I was like, man, do what you got to do. And I want to say I maybe spent like $120, something like that. And I never, ever had that problem again. So that's kind of like how I see prescription drugs to generic drugs. The prescription drugs are going to cost freaking more. And they might do what they're supposed to do for a certain amount of time. Might. And then again, you know, they might actually do it all. But the generic, just because it doesn't have that major name, the shit still works.
That is true.
So, again, I say all that to say that it doesn't have to have that damn major name. It just has to work.
Right.
So anytime, you know, I come across a situation where I can either get the high brand name item, or I can go with like the no name item. It's debatable on what it is, but I don't automatically go towards the more expensive thing now, simply because I've learned that principle that just because it's a brand name, that don't mean the shit gonna work.
Right. And that also goes back to what I said in the beginning about you have these parent companies and these subsidiaries. You got Advil, then you got whatever's under Advil that is manufacturing the same product, but just sticking it in sticking it in bottles with a different label. So it's like, what are you really getting that's so different from the name brand or the prescription? Again, you know, and the crazy thing about it is the same name brand that is supplying to, let's say, a hospital could quite well be giving the generic brand. Because you know, when you go to any pharmacy, they'll ask you, do you want name brand or generic? And the crazy thing about it is, I'm not a pharmacy tech, but I do pay attention to what the hell they be doing if I'm in there watching them fill my prescription.
All right.
And the thing about it is, they got these things that hold the medication in it. Stick it under there, drop a few pills in there, and that's it. You know, they may have a couple of different ones that have maybe the same pills or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, when you look at it, it's big business. You know, it's just a matter of which one, what price you want to put on whatever the person is asking for. Because you just don't know. And this thing goes across the board. Like, seriously. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. That it is. Like I said, they are making a killing.
Yes, they are making a killing. And it's like, I just, the crazy thing to me is, I really don't understand why this is the way we operate. I do not understand it. It's, you know, and it's insulting because, again, when we talk about all these other products that follow this same thing, well, I don't know which one is following which. I don't know if pharmaceutical companies are following car companies or food companies or whatever the case may be. But again, if you're going to sell this discount brand, why not just lower the price of your main brand and just call it a damn day? I mean, a frosted flake is a frosted flake, whether you got Kellogg's and Tony the Tiger on it, or you got this rooster on it, and it's in a bag of the same Frosted Flakes. It's like, yo, Advil is Advil, no matter what packaging you put on it. Motrin is Motrin, no matter what packaging you put on it. And it's like, this society is so damn obsessed with greed that it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing.
Greed is business.
Yes. Big business. Like, yo.
Man. Goddamn, business is good, man.
It is fucking great. Like, yo, like, come on, man. What are y'all doing out here? And then you just have to wonder. It's like I literally sit back and wonder, why is this okay? Like, it just makes no damn sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, we can go on and on about products that have a brand name and a lower budget option to it, and it's like, why? Like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like, why?
One of the things that I learned from this particular company that I worked for, I was in charge of delivering this product to different stores, different locations. And it was a product where people would say, why do you have it here at this store when there's another store directly across the street where they're not selling your product at all? So our president of our company, he decided he was no longer going to allow that. He wanted it everywhere, at every store, no matter if it was right next door or across the street or up from the street.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the, I guess the board, people on the board, they didn't get it. And he was like, because we want our product to be just like Sprite or Coke or Miller or Bud. It doesn't matter what store you go in.
Right.
We want our product there. And only after explaining that did a lot of people, grasp what he was saying. He's like, it has to be everywhere. We're not in this business to look a certain way, as far as it doesn't make any sense to have the same product across the street.
Right.
But the thing that, made him a hero in everybody's eyes was because he didn't think in a way of, I only wanted certain places. He said, I want it everywhere. And that's kind of like how the pharmaceutical companies are. They want it everywhere. It's all about access. And if they have a customer who can't access their product, that's a problem.
Right.
So I totally get, again, why it's so readily available and why it's literally damn near everywhere. They're not in the industry to make friends. They're in the industry to make money. So I think that's one of the things that people have to keep in mind when they're consuming these products.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. At the end of the day, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not going anywhere. And yeah, it's just not going anywhere. It's always going to be an issue, and I think once people take more responsibility for their health, then that will change. But then I guess the powers that be in this well-oiled machine will find a way to make people sick and have them on more and more medications, pharmaceuticals, or whatever the case may be, and it's a never-ending cycle of um, addiction, monopoly, and all kind of other stuff out there. I don't know. I guess oh man. It's really just a thing of taking care of yourself at the end of the day. That's how I see it.
Let, let me hit you with one more curveball before we wrap this up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe ethics play any kind of a role in a pharmaceutical company in this day and age?
To a degree, um, but I also think um, ethics kind of they kind of go out the window when when money is involved because every a lot of people are looking at gaining money. um yeah, I mean there is a ethical aspect to it, but I also look at the financial gains and the greed again, because that is what drives a lot of these pharmaceuticals, since that's what we're talking about. What about you?
Um, I think that it does, or that industry does have ethics,
Mm-hmm.
but there's an age limit on it.
Mm.
And even with that, it depends on what that illness is.
Mm.
It's crazy that some of the kids being born nowadays are being born with diseases that we've never heard of to a certain degree.
Mm.
But there's a drug for it.
Yeah.
Like when you have kids, let's say between 3 and 8,
Mm-hmm.
that these kids are, in fact, just kids, but they want to feed these kids drugs to make them not hyper or active. Like, this is a kid. They're going to be hyper. They're going to be active, especially with the damn food that, on the market nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling me that it's okay to give these kids a drug to make them not act like kids.
Mm.
That's insanity to me.
Mm.
What the hell you think a kid's gonna do besides be a kid? Of course they're gonna be active. Of course they're gonna be, um, you know, up and moving around, or they can't sit still. They're fucking, excuse me, they're kids. That's what kids do. But you got these damn pharmaceutical companies pushing it to these physicians. Hey, we need you to push this because, of course, we can't have kids being kids.
Mm.
And in some cases, the crazy part about it is they will damn near force you to make your kid take this drug so your kid can remain in school. And if they don't go to school, your ass go to jail. Like, how in the hell did that shit make sense? When in the hell did it become okay for damn pharmaceutical companies to have more fucking power over your child than you do? I mean, really stop and think about that, people. That's crazy. That's insanity.
No, the other part of that, though, before we jump off of here, is that it's not only the pharmaceutical companies. You know, it's a level of responsibility of parents, and it's a responsibility of everyone, because again, when a mother intakes something into her system, because that child is directly connected to her bloodstream, it passes to the child. So when you got hyper kids, what was the mother using? you know.
That's
but
true.
Again, you know, it's a systematic thing, and it is not much that we can all do about it. But thanks for tuning in to the King and Our Life podcast. It is me, Soul Toucher the Poet, and my brother
Sound so Lex.
Thank y'all for tuning in to Pharmaceuticals in Our Society. Hey, I know I haven't said it throughout this whole episode, but check us out. The video will be on YouTube. Corresponding episodes will be audio on whatever podcast platform that you subscribe to. So make sure you check us out, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell notification, and definitely comment. And we will check y'all out on the next one. So Lex, take us out.
And of course, you guys can always hit us up at KINGANDEY369 Again, it's King and I 369 If you would like to be a guest on the show, if you have a particular topic you would like for us to discuss, please reach out to us. And again, we're on all of your major podcast platforms. We're on Twitter, Facebook. We are on YouTube. And again, make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe, and that bell notification. Help us get our numbers up. I think the last time I looked at it, we're sitting on, I think it's 80 something, I want to say. Something like that. Don't quote me on that, but we're getting there slowly but gradually. And again, we appreciate, our followers. So please continue to do so. Tune in.
Holla.
Peace.